Welcome to FinScale, a podcast created by Solène Niederkorn, shedding light on innovation in finance, banking, and insurance.
Paul Allard, CEO and co-founder of Impak Analytics.
If we want to successfully achieve transformation of our economies, it will and it is needed to be with the financial sector, as the financial flows needs to be redirected towards these organizations, these companies that are understanding that their transformation is utmost importance.
Without necessarily focusing on a finance lesson this episode, we have a top-notch course worthy of Thomas Piketty on the financialization of the economy and the related consequences. This discussion introduces us to the concept of positive and negative impact-related companies and the ways in which Impak Analytics measures it. We look at the methodology applied to listed and issuer companies as well as those that are not listed. This scale-up established in Canada and France counts Société Générale and Altalurra Ventures among its investors. Paul explains the nature of the partnership with the French financial group and how the relationship was formed. He also reflects on the shift from B2C to B2B and outlines the value proposition around the mission he and his team have set for themselves: to deploy the most rigorous impact analysis of the financial sector to redirect capital towards the economy with the most positive impact on our planet. We also dive into Impak Analytics relationships with corporations and different stakeholders in the ecosystem, such as consultants. Enjoy the show! Hello, everyone. Hello, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm very happy to have you on my podcast. Prior to starting, I would like to thank Mark Wamser, who kindly made the intro to you. Paul, maybe we could start by this. Could you please quickly present yourself to our audience?
Yeah, in a short version, I'm a Canadian born. I was born in Western Canada. I moved to Quebec, the province, in Quebec City, in Montreal. And when I was pretty young, my dad wanted me to be raised in French. And I have a training in, I studied in civil engineering. I have a training as a musician. So I have I'm a cellist by training also. And I worked a bit for 10 years in entertainment on stage. And after that, I switched to business. I did my MBA in finance, and I've been at building companies from blueprint with family, friends, and fools funding to Series A, Series B, and going public transactions. I've done 6 or 7 of those. So, and I did also a bit of M&A in New York between 2 companies, 2 startups that I've created. And I created Impak Analytics in 2017. Mm-hmm. Because I think that today innovation and startups should all be focused on trying to deal with the most pressing issues our society is facing. I think that the energy should 100% be devoted, innovation, AI, to how can we deal with the pressing issues underlined by the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. That's what I'm convinced about. So that's what we created. Impak was created in 2017 and in its current format in 2018.
Okay. And when did you start considering that climate was a major issue? Did you have a sort of epiphany or a moment? What was the trigger?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Well, actually, I was fresh out from an MBA in the end of 90s and early 2000. I have created a tech company around interactive television, and we went public. And so I had to work with an investment banker at that time in 1999, 2000. I worked a year with an investment banker, and I thought I knew everything fresh from the MBA in finance, which I understood that in the real life, I knew nothing about short selling, pump and dump, triple CDOs, and go on and so forth. And this and in short selling was the amazing thing that I couldn't believe that was legal. I still believe that a lot of these products should be illegal, but that's where I got really interested in what the finance economy was all about and how our society was upside down. Because our society should include one aspect, which is the economy and which is the financial economy. It should not be the other way around. But today and for the last 50 years, every decision making whatsoever is based on the financial aspect, which is a huge mistake. And as I say, today, with the deregulation that has started in 1971, when we privatized money creation with Nixon, that has left by itself the Bretton Woods Accord. Well, we've seen 2008 and nothing was fixed in terms of regulation, insurance rules. It was only just to look good, but nothing was fixed. And just before the crisis, the COVID crisis, the financial economy was representing, according to Piketty and all the French economist school, it was between 80 to 100 times bigger than the real economy. Wow. That's a real problem. Why? Because most of the decisions were made just according to financial returns, whatever the effects on human beings, on the environment, on social aspects of it. And we're stuck today on the bridge of falling in the cliff, and we're starting to fall due to the financial system, mainly with this financial approach that I think is really what brought us to us. But on the other hand, if we want to successfully achieve transformation of our economies, it will and it is needed to be with the financial sector. Yeah. As the financial flows needs to be redirected towards these organizations, these companies that are understanding that their transformation is utmost importance.
That's true. Thank you very much for, reminding this and providing those figures that are quite striking. Okay, so we'll talk about what you do at Impak. Prior to that, I wanted to maybe deep dive into all that rating agency environment. So many people working in the financial industry really know all the main ones, Moody's, S&P's, Fitch, which are the main global credit agencies. How does the market for impact rating agencies look like currently?
Well, before going into that, let's go back a bit. I like to start from a macro approach and go back to where we're at.
Go on.
So if we go way back in 1929, when there was a huge international financial crisis, the authorities all over the place in worldwide economies and countries agreed that one way to deal with that lack of transparency on the financial markets was to come up with a standardized, transparent, audited, rigorous financial statement. And that was created by a law in the United States. It started in 1933 by the GAAP law. And it led to the IFRS worldwide.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's get back. I will repeat. To deal with the non-transparency and the treacherous and how people can manipulate, they wanted a standardized, transparent, rigorous, audited by third-party financial statements. So it started and it worked. Even though there was a lot of resistance from Europe, from the United States, still again, there's some, and it could apply to every sector, all that is under the bridge. Everybody, no professional in finance would even look at a project if you didn't have their financial audited statements.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So on the extra financial world now, it started because there was pressure from insurance companies that understood that the environment, the droughts, the floods was a real effect on their business. They pushed and put a lot of pressure on banks to take into account environment and social aspects in their loan and their credit analysis. That's how it started 20 years ago, combined with a reality, even though President Macron thinks it's new, climate change.
Yeah,
it's a surprise, even though it exists from the Meadows report in 1970s. Well, combined with this conscience, we saw in Europe the leading countries in Europe really took in seriously the environment and social and governance aspects about 20 years ago and started to make it a regulation and implement it. And so today we have regulations, and we did see this movement of ESG 1.0 come in play. Mm-mm. And at that time, in that time, we invented the rules, the new methodologies. Not everything was to be built. But let's face it, in 2023, today, let's face it, the ESG 1.0 sustainable, that creates all these financial sustainable products, was a lot of effort, and we learned a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of knowledge. But the result is a failure. Let's face it, in terms of wealth.
At this stage,
today, it's a collective, and I say that it's a collective failure, because in terms of biodiversity, in terms of 1.5 degree goals, in terms of wealth distribution, and go on and so forth, it's not a positive result. Mm-mm. So, did we learn a lot of stuff? Yes, we learned a lot of things, and today it's time to professionalize. Professionalize what? Well, as professional and rigorous the financial sector are with numbers, they need now to stop being amateurs about extra financial. Mm-hmm. And what is the solution? Is to look at how can we work with a standardized, open source, verified by third party and rigorous framework to do an impact assessment the way and deliver an impact statement of every single companies they work with. So coming back to what I think is happening is converging rapidly due to the triple crises, the crises that was generated by the COVID-19 with the climate crises and a multiple understanding of everybody that we really need to deal with it. Well, today we understand that we need to go further. And we need to implement, and the financial sector needs to stop being amateur and understand that it's a real change management for every single financial institution, small and big. And what is that change? Is to integrate in every single value chain of their business, the integration of high quality extra financial data. Mm-hmm. So should it be credit analysis, risk analysis, structured product? Should it be investment to pick and choose, ETFs? And at the end, yes, regulation and reporting, which is not a goal by itself. It's a result.
Exactly.
And today, the companies, the financial institutions that understands that, they invest heavily in two things. In understanding that it's a change management, so they need to invest in training every single people in their organization to understand how to incorporate in their business and in their day-to-day job these extra financial data. Mm-hmm. And they invest heavily in high quality data. And what is high quality data? It's comparable, it's built by a third party, and it respects open source framework, which exists since 2015, called the Impact Management Project. So when I hear in the market in 2023 that, there's no standard, everybody needs to stop talking and do their homeworks about understanding what is a framework, what is an indicator, and today we're in a very interesting time zone where the ESG 1.0 understand that they're not giving the full picture. Mm-hmm. They're just looking at efforts. They're not looking at positive impact. They have homemade methodology, so no transparency. And they're all working towards the next ESG 2.0, which Impact is part of the solution, is one of the players pushing towards this ESG 2.0, which is called impact assessments.
Excellent. So currently, we know we have Standard & Poor's, we know we have all those big agencies really working only on financials. So there are companies like yours that are focusing on providing ratings on extra financial scoring for many, many companies. So my question was rather, how did the market evolve? Meaning that, do those players that I mentioned previously move in that direction, or does it require new companies like yours to bring a fresh air in that area?
Yes, correct. So a scoring is just the pit of the iceberg. A scoring just a result, but underlying the scoring is a real in-depth analysis. So yes, a scoring is a tool, and usually the scoring device is not used by bankers or asset managers. They take the contextualized indicators that we provide them with and build their own scoring internally. But the score is useful for a quick pick and for communication aspects, but it's still it's a powerful tool, but it depends on the underlying methodology. So coming back, a scoring is one thing, and an analysis is the main source to build a scoring.
True.
So today, there's a convergence. I know for sure that all the big players, Moody's, Morningstar with Sustainalytics, MSCI, S&P, Bloomberg, they are starting to work very actively towards the next generation of ESG 2.0. And what is that? It's impact assessment. And why it's so different between the first generation and the second generation is that today we know that to be rigorous, we need to look at 100% of the activities of an organization to do an impact assessment, but not its philanthropy activities, its main activities. We need to look after that at the double materiality of their negative impact to be mitigated. We look at their process, the indicators, and after that, we contextualize these indicators. And we do the same on the positive impact that may occur or do occur, and we contextualize the indicators based on the percentage of activities to have a real picture. And we do not do the mistake of just only looking at climate, which is a huge tunnel vision if we continue that way. We need to include climate in an impact assessment in order to avoid this not overseeing some social aspects. And in some case, 35% of the industries, it's not material, the carbon footprint.
What do you mean?
That's the reality. Well, for a law firm, their carbon footprint is less important than their social aspect than for a car builder. The materiality of things needs to be done. If I do the comparison with financial statements, and I look at the costs of goods, and I need to compare what a car maker aluminum cost is, and I look at what a law firm aluminum costs, well, yeah, the law firm is way better, but it's not relevant.
Yes, that's true.
It's
Context
just
is
not
important.
Relevant. Contextualization.
Yes.
And so that's what everybody's moving toward: double materiality, positive and negative impact, outcomes, and contextualization of the indicators for the financial sector to take better decisions and build better product that achieves not only financial returns, but real impact results. And that's where we're at. And that's where it's a very exciting time to be in.
Okay, so now if we talk more about impact, so we understand the reason why you created impact. My question is always the same when I interview entrepreneurs is, what is your starting point? This is your vision, this is what you want to improve, but in reality, how is it working? How did you organize the team? What was the starting point?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because when you're a startup, compared to a mining exploration company, you know that you're on a territory, there's richness underwear, but you try different things until you find some ore or some diamond, but it takes a few times. So what we knew for sure, and our mission is always the same, Impact is a B Corp and is Impact, the mission-based company. And our mission is to come up with the most rigorous impact assessment that is provided to the financial sector to rechannel capital towards these companies that are really genuinely transforming towards sustainability. That's our mission. So when we started, we thought we need to build a systemic change, because I do not believe in good intentions. Human beings. Me
neither.
I do not believe in that. So at the end, I had a question of a client is, if your client does not believe in it, but does it, do you care? I said, I can't care less as long as he does it. That's my point. Because at the end, it needs to be mainstream and a social permit to operate to come up with your impact assessment and your theory of change. But coming back to our beginning, when we started, we said, okay, let's find out what is the best framework that will become the highest quality of impact assessment and how we could do that. And we focused a lot, and we signed, and we joined the IMP, which was created in 2015. We were created in 2017.
What is the IMP?
The Impact Management Project.
Okay.
The impact, which is the most consensual framework that has been built by all the standard setters.
Okay.
And when we started that, the first thoughts, I said, okay, how about trying to create a platform for consumers to identify the companies that go through these impact assessment so that the spending is more responsible. Mm-hmm. So that was our first format. And so we spent time in developing the methodology, the questionnaire for small companies and medium-sized companies. And we built some analysis people and frameworks and standardizing and formalizing. And we built a little team of analysts and building an application, a B2C, business to consumer application. Mm-hmm. But soon enough, we saw that it would require a lot of capital. And we were kind of short of capital at that time. Mm-hmm. And when we received a phone call from Europe, from an asset manager, and the asset manager was very blunt. They said, I don't care about your B2C platform. What I am interested in is your methodology and your analyst group. Mm-hmm. So can you do the assessment, the impact assessment of my entire portfolio with the best standards, which is the IMP? Mm-hmm. We said, yes, sir. And
we adapt.
Yes,
we adapt.
Yes, ma'am, because it was a lady. And we started, and we shifted at that time and decided to focus entirely on becoming Impak Analytics. So Impak Analytics is a corporation that does assessment and scoring and provide data intelligence to the financial sector. So we did the shift in 2018. So you've been an entrepreneur. So that's how it works. You have a mission and you try this, it doesn't work. You go there and you adapt. And that's what we did. So today we're very, very clearly positioned as being the leading impact assessment and scoring and intelligence provider. We're small, but we're already 130 people and growing fast. And I think that the timing, it can't be more perfect.
Excellent. That's wow. That's so cool to hear that. What are the different use cases that we can find, using your company? Because you have different use cases mentioned on your website, such as M&A regulators, and you said also asset managers. Can you give a bit of context?
Well, if we come back again, I like to, and we do the analogy with what is a financial statement and what is a use case of a financial statement. Well, any financial statement of a corporation will help the credit team, the risk team, the investment team, the structured product team, the quant team, and go on and so forth. So the same way, an impact statement should be also a multiple usage. Mm-hmm. So today, our client, our banks, using our indicators to and feed their risk analysis module and team mm-hmm. to take and to renegotiate loans based not only on financial reports, but also on impact statement reports, state of the art. That's an example of, so we have an API that feeds each time there's a renewal of loan, and we deliver the impact statement on a yearly basis of all their clients. That's an example. Another use case is an asset manager of listed companies that wants to build a fund that aims at, financial performance, but sustainable transformation. And to do so, he needs to have information on a yearly basis to reallocate the funds towards the best performers in financial and in impact. Mm-hmm. So how and by building this data and providing it with the right indicators, they take better decision, and they do avoid these crises such as Orpea or such as Téléperformance, because these are the type of clients that we follow. of listed companies we follow. And we've been saying since 2018 that L'Orpea is not a company to invest if you want to have a sustainable framework. And Téléperformance, the same thing. Why? Not because we're smarter, because we're more rigorous in applying a more rigorous impact assessment. Mm-hmm. And another use case that we use for private equity firms, because we cover listed and private companies. So private equity firms, when they need to invest, they have a deal flow, and they need to filter these companies based on their financial. Mm-hmm. So we have a product that does an evaluation of their SDG alignment, very quick, not too expensive, but helps them do a first filter. And once the filter is done, after that, they go to a full impact assessment for their portfolio reporting. Mm-hmm. And from there, we extract from this impact assessment different thematic modules and regulation modules. So we have a European taxonomy module that automizes the reporting according to European taxonomy rules. We have also an SFDR module that covers not only listed companies, but private companies. Mm-hmm. So with a questionnaire that has a workflow. So the questionnaire is not an Excel file. It's a platform online asking questions that entrepreneurs can understand, and leads to SFDR, but not only to SFDR. Because to be honest with you, SFDR is really, really not impact, is really a basic data point collection, which is not, but it's a first step that we use to bring our clients to a next step in going towards real impact analysis. So when we start with SFDR, if you're a fund that wants to classify that towards Article 9, we have the tools for an impact SDG alignment to give them the right decision process and proxies for them to classify that correctly according to Article 9. So this is the things that we offer to our clients. And we also work. The last thing that we do, we will never be paid directly by the issuers, the companies by itself, because we want to keep an independence. So we have started to work with major consultancy firms that helps these corporations in their sustainable journey. And we are the one that provides them the dashboard and the annual impact assessment to see their progress.
And what is the business model you have? What is your
two ways? SaaS model, where if a bank wants us to cover 1,000 titles, we charge them per title. If it's a listed company, if it's a private, there's a different pricing model, but it's a SaaS model, and they register to our platform and they have access to our platform. And we also are launching this spring subscription base, where we have the stock 600 for them to subscribe, and it's soon to be the S&P 500 and eventually the ACWI. And whereas it's to have high quality data, human intervention is needed. We use AI, we use BI, but all the companies promising quality without human intervention, they're not providing they all suffer from the GIGO effect. Garbage in, garbage out. We need to understand that the raw data that you can collect, and that's what we collect, needs to be restructured, restated, and contextualized to give a real impact assessment and real impact intelligence. That's what we provide.
One question regarding the number of companies or issuers you cover currently.
Yes. So we are at that stage where we want to cover our clients' universe in priority. And from there, we also are covering our generic coverage. So we are launching the stock 600 in a couple of weeks, followed by the S&P 500, the generic coverage. But we cover private and listed companies of our clients, banks and asset manager, but some of them are out of these indices. But our goal is to have a coverage so we cover today 2,700 listed companies per year, and we want our goal is to cover 5,000 in the next 18 to 24 months.
To be very precise, if we take the example of, for instance, BNP or Danone, how can you explain for them quickly the positive impact? Because when we go on your website, we clearly see how it's looking like. The positive impact and negative impact and the governance on those two companies. Can you maybe help us understand the methodology you have?
Yes, well, I'm not at all an expert, but I can tell you that when it's really our analysts are trained to understand, and sometimes it's confusing when you're not a professional or where you're a financial analyst to understand the difference between what is a negative impact that needs to be mitigated and what is a positive impact generated by your model. And that's very core to these differentiator. So essentially, to differentiate what a positive impact and what a negative impact to be mitigated are, is you look at the core of the operations on one side and the core of the business model on the other side. Mm-hmm. So when you look at a company's activities, and that's science-based, it's every sector and subsector today. You have a lot of databases that gives you very precisely. If you're a beer maker, you look at your operations and the water input and output and the process, how you deal with water is impact mitigation that you need to put in place. Mm-hmm. And so you can't say that you have a positive impact on water because you mitigate the negative impact that you can generate through beer making. Mm-hmm. But if, as an example, the same beer maker hires in its business people that has difficulty in integrating the work economy, well, that's a positive impact that other beer maker don't need to do. He does not need to do it, but he does. Mm-hmm. This is a positive impact that is generated by its model and its specific approach. So that's what, and in some case, it's easier when you look at Schneider Electric as an example. Schneider Electric, 70% of its activities is there to generate renewable energies. Mm-hmm. So you can identify what are the positive impact generated by these activities. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, these same activities also needs to mitigate some negative impact generated by, as example, safety and health. You need to mitigate the risk of building these things and also of your life cycle. Mm-hmm. You need to look in depth into your supply chain. Mm-hmm. And this is needed. And this is how you and it's an expertise that has. And that's what I invite a lot of the financial people that, yes, they need to learn more and more, but do not think that it's easy to become an expert and work with professionals. Clearly. The same way you work with with companies to do the audit of the financial statement of the corporation, don't try to do it yourself. Yeah. Understand to do your job, yes, but don't try to do it yourself.
Yeah. One question, are you contacted by those companies for which you provide ratings? Because maybe sometimes they wonder why you gave this or that rating and how they can potentially improve their results for the negative impacts?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. So we will stick to our plan not to work directly and be paid directly by the corporations. But we will put in place a way to have an ongoing discussions with these corporations that wish to understand and wish to improve. And we will work, as I said, with a network of consultants, professional consultants that we will be able to refer to in order for them to improve. But mm-hmm. yes, with these consultants and by talking to the companies to explain them how we do and what's our methodology, mm-hmm. we'll be able to listen to a lot of those and to adapt because there's a lot of things to adapt, not on a specific company thing, but on a generic approach of the methodology in certain sectors that needs to be improved. And for this specific company, we'll refer to consultancy firms that can definitely take our recommendation of how they can improve mm-hmm. their impact statement year after year.
Excellent. You have a partnership, or I don't know if it's a partnership or just the fact that Société Générale and Altalurra are your shareholders. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Can you say
shareholder?
Yeah. Investors. Yes. Can you say a few words about this relationship and how you built the relationship with Société Générale and Altalurra Ventures?
Well, Société Générale is a partner, is one of their biggest clients, and yes, it's a real partnership. Here's an example of a leading financial institution worldwide that has identified the fact of integrating high quality impact data in their process was a real game changer. And they started that 7 to 8 years ago. So they've created a group of an expert, a hub within the organization. And soon enough, they came to the conclusion that a set of data within Société Générale for all the use case within the company. And from there, that's where we met. And they were looking for a provider, an external provider, to help them provide them impact assessments of their clients on the CIB side. So where they do loans to over 1,000 companies. And so we built a long-term relationship. It started a few years ago where they tested us. They did a proof of concept over a year. And after that, we integrated in their system and they invested in us afterwards. So it's a very impressive, I must say, partnership for a different reason. First, it's one of the first major bank in the world understanding this major shift and investing heavily on the change management, on the training of their people, and also investing heavily on high quality impact data.
Is it the reason why you're present in France?
Well, no, it started with other clients. The other client, it's called Vega, which is an asset manager, part of the group Natexis. So, but Europe is really was a few years ago really in advance of what was happening in North America. So most of our clients we signed early days were based in Luxembourg, in Switzerland, in Germany, in London, and in France. And today we see the North American market starting to wake up. So that's very interesting, and they're waking up quite quickly, I must say. But they're getting they're updating themselves. So that's very good news in terms of seeing our economy transform towards the more sustainability.
That's good news. It's never too late.
No.
They have to hurry.
We need to hurry though, but we need to see it happen.
Okay, Paul, we're a bit running out of time. So to conclude, what are your next steps at Impak?
Well, it's the scale up is a real challenge, and because we've combined human intelligence augmented by AI and BI. So invest heavily in business intelligence, in artificial intelligence, and natural language processing tools to augment our scale up in the first phase, and also to scale up with partnerships. So we'll be announcing a series of partnerships to distribute and to be able to have more and more clients using what we do and the high quality of impact assessment and intelligence that we provide them with, for them to really tackle the challenges of making sure that they're taking the right decisions based on good data, and they're also tackling and achieving the impact goals that they've announced and they promised to their investors.
Okay, thank you. Final conclusion. I always ask my guests to recommend a book or a podcast for a sort of source of inspiration. Well,
I would not recommend one book, but there's I like a lot the Economist coming out from France. So you have Piketty, which is heavy, but you have also Loic, I forget his second name, but reading their books is super interesting. But one book I would definitely recommend is Ronald Cohen's last book about the impact transformation. So Sir Ronald Cohen is a practitioner that has been in the impact world for almost a decade, and he wrote about the impact economy. It's really fascinating.
Thank you, Paul. That was insightful, and I wish people have been inspired by what you said. I was really inspired.
Well, good. And yeah, sometimes I get passionate about what we do, and sometimes I talk too much.
It's a bit too long, but it's okay. It was really interesting. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for listening and sharing this moment with us. Don't hesitate to contact me on Twitter or LinkedIn to share your comments and reactions. You can also rate this episode on your favorite podcast platform. See you soon.